everybody, it's Fiona here from TYHub, and this week we're chatting with the weird and wonderful Dave Young. Most of you would know him from the old telly box. He's a stand-up Irish comedian, and we're going to try and have a
tonight. I'm sitting down.
I know you're sitting. See, there we
go. It's a sit-down show tonight.
So we started off on a serious note, as we always do. Dave, you did not start your career off as a comedian, did you?
No. I don't know how. Well, I know how I became a comedian, but I never ever had any aspirations to be one. I'm an only child. I come originally from Walkinstown. My mum and dad come from Ballyfermot. My dad comes from the bottom end of Ballyfermot. My mum comes from the top end, and they made me in the middle behind the gala. That's how I came along. I'm an only child. My mum doesn't smoke. Tried it once, didn't like it. Doesn't drink. Tried it once, didn't like it. I've no brothers and sisters, so you can figure it out yourself. And we were very poor growing up, honestly. People always say about only children, oh, spoiled rotten. The minute you announce anywhere, I'm an only child, oh, spoiled rotten. And of course you are. You're spoiled though with love. Like we had no money. Like we were so poor in our house, you could only play seek because there was nothing to hide behind. So it was just, and it was a weird house. The curtains were drawn, but the furniture was real. And I remember one day a guy called to the door. He was a little fella, about 3'6". I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm the meter man." But so I was a singer, and then my real name is David Morris, and my pop idol when I was say 14 and 15, the posters all over the bedroom were of a guy called Paul Young, who had hits with "Every Time You Go Away," "Wherever I Lay My Hat, That's My Home." He's still gigging today. Anyway, and I used to spike my hair. I used to have a big head of hair. And I used to model myself on Paul Young. And I wouldn't use hairspray. I used to use sugar and water. I used to mix sugar and water up, and I'd spike it up. And I used to be about 2 foot on my head. So it actually made me look taller as well. And I was going around, and every time you'd pass a window, a reflection, be all about the hair and fixing the hair. And so then I started singing with, I got my own band together, and we were called No Limits. And I would be about 18 now. And I left school very young. I think I was about 15. I did my own leaving. I just left. See, being alone.
You did the intercert then, or
not even that? I did group cert. That was for people who were even more thick than the intercert. I did group cert, and then I pretended for a whole year I was in school. See, that was one perk about being an only child. Oh, I never finished the downside. So you announce you're an only child, everyone says, "Oh, spoiled rotten," right? And you are, right? With attention. The flip side of being an only child is you get the blame for everything.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. Because you can't say, "It wasn't me." You can't do that. Like my dad come in carrying a stepladder, turn and knock a lump out of the wall, but wouldn't know. And that night I'd be called in, "David, there's a lump gone out of the wall. I didn't do it. Your mother wouldn't do it." Suddenly, it's me again. I'm just glad I wasn't around when President Kennedy was shot. "You had grass on your knees." Anyway, so
your powers of deduction, Mr. Morris, are just second to none.
We started singing with the band No Limits. And we used to do all cover stuff. And I remember we used to double gig on a Saturday night. We'd be on in somewhere like the Cherry Orchard Club or some club anyway in Ballyfermot. And then later on, we'd be on in, what was it called? A nightclub on O'Connell Street, or in around there in town. What was it called? Rumors? Was Rumors in town?
No idea.
Something like that, some nightclub. And we'd be on from 12 till 2. And I used to love that. So we go, the first gig would be 9:30 till 11:30. We break down the gear. There was a drummer, a keyboard player, bass player, lead guitarist, and I was the lead vocalist. And we'd all get into the van. Anyway, singing away with the band, and that was it. No interest in magic, no interest in comedy, nothing like that. Happy to be a singer. And then I started managing during the day a clothes shop on Grafton Street called In Club. It was beside the only shop that's still there, I don't know whether you've been to Grafton Street lately, it's really gone downhill. Do you know on Grafton Street now, there's a pound shop
Is there?
on the top street in Dublin, which would be like our high street or, it's the posh street. There's a pound shop, there's Burger King, there's McDonald's. All that's missing is a charity shop. It's really gone. Like, do you remember years ago, Switzer's?
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And then you had the sock shop. Do you remember they just sold socks?
The socks.
And I was next door to the sock shop and just before the camera shop, which the camera shop is still there.
Yeah.
But, so I was managing the clothes shop during the day and I was singing at night with the band. And one day this little guy came in and he said, I'm looking for a long jacket with loads of inside pockets. And I said, why, are you a thief? He said, no, I'm a magician. And of course, when someone says they're a magician, the natural thing to do is say, show us a trick. So I said, show me a trick. So he took out a deck of cards, he did a trick, and it was brilliant. And then he showed me how he did it. And then I was hooked. Every time he would call in, he's passed away now, a lovely guy from Crumlin called Rondo. He used to come in, and every time he'd come in, he'd have a different trick for me. And he'd either show it to me, or he'd do it on me, and then he'd show me how to do it, and then he'd probably give it to me. And so I got interested in magic. And but none of this was, the way you hear Keith Barry and people saying, oh, they're real showbiz stories, by the way, they're not true at all. When I was a kid, I got a little magic set. I was only 6. And then I was saying, bullshit. Most of them can't get a job, so they go, fuck, I have to do something. So anyway, give us a deck of cards. Anyway, so I got interested in magic, and then the clothes shop, the guy who owned it died, so that had to close down, and suddenly I was out of work and during the day. And a week later, a shop opened in the Stephen's Green Centre called It's Magic, and they were looking for an in-house magician to demonstrate magic tricks. They were copying, that shop. Oh, it's a lovely shop. It's in England, it's in America, and there's one in Dundrum. I don't know if it's gone now. It's a big toy store. It begins with H.
Harrods?
No, not Harrods. No.
I know which way. It's not there anymore in Dundrum, but I know which one.
Hamleys, not Hamleys.
Yeah, Hamleys.
Do you remember? Was it Hamleys?
Yeah. It's not there anymore.
Anyway, they used to have a guy in England in like a top hat, which was the table, and he would do card tricks and then sell you the decks of cards. So I'm working in the clothes shop one day. I know about 4 tricks, and I go in for the interview for the job. And the guy said, "Are you a magician?" Oh, yes, I am. And he said, "Right, whatever." And I did about 2 tricks, but I think it was the personality. So I got the job. So suddenly now I'm a magician. So I always did fancy being a singer. Now suddenly I'm a magician that never wanted to be one. So that's grand. So now I'm working away in the shop and I'm doing magic tricks and I'm demonstrating and having the crack with people all day. So it's all showbiz. It's all being showy and shown off. And I'm singing still at night with the band. And then at night, when the keyboard player would have a problem or there'd be a power cut or a guitar string would break or something, I'd keep it going with jokes. I'd say, because the band would say to me, do something, keep it going. So I'd start telling them jokes and having a bit of a laugh. And then suddenly the audiences were getting bigger and bigger, but they wanted to hear more crack. And then I start dressing up as people like Tina Turner, Freddie Mercury. I used to put tights on my head and be Stevie Wonder with glasses and walk into walls. Another thing you wouldn't get away with today, the walking into walls you get away with. To your head and pretending to be a black person. and the gas thing is, there isn't a racist bone in my body. I don't even know what racism is. I know I'm the only coloured comedian in Africa, but after that, I haven't got a clue. I think to be a racist, you've got to have an issue with race. You know what I mean? To pick up on it. It's just innocent to me. So anyway, so I started telling jokes. Now suddenly I'm dressed up as Tina Turner and I'm Stevie Wonder, I'm doing all these impressions. So now everyone is coming not to see the band play music. They want to see what's he going to do this week. So that went on for a couple of years and it was a going grand till one evening the band sat me down and they said, Dave, the audience are laughing at us. And I said, but the places are packed. And they
Mhm.
were saying, yeah, but we want to be musicians. Now, we were only doing covers. We
Yeah,
weren't like, Oasis or something, writing our own stuff. So I said,
they
okay.
wanted to be you too.
They wanted to be U2, but doing ABBA songs or something. I don't know. So anyway, well, I left the band. They got a new lead singer, and I kept gigging as myself. Suddenly now I was Dave Young, and I was on my own, and I did it all with backing tracks.
Okay.
So it was little mini discs they were called back then.
Yes, I remember now.
And do you remember mini discs?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have to record everything in real time.
yeah,
Everything, it was like cassette tapes going from cassette to cassette. It was the
yeah.
same thing. So then I started to do the show. Now, I'll never forget the first night, because being funny and having five other guys on stage with you, you know, they're like the backup, if you will, that
Yeah,
if the
yeah,
jokes aren't working or something is wrong, well, you can go into a song, and all the attention isn't on you.
yeah.
You might think, oh, he'd love that, but making that transition from being, say, six people on stage to one, I'll never forget the first gig. I was shaking. And there was an intro on the track. My roadie was shaking because he was used to doing the sound for a band.
Mhm.
Now it's just me and him. And he hit play, and on I went. And then it was like, it was back then, it was so innocent. When I say this, you hit that. And there was a list of stuff. And then I'd say stuff differently. And
Yeah.
he'd be sitting looking at me. I'd
Wait,
be going,
you. Yeah, yeah.
and he'd be, and then you'd see it with lists. Like, you never said that. Let me go. Oh, but now,
Watch the expression.
yeah, look at this. Now it's gone completely the other way. I'm more comfortable on stage now, just me on my own, than I would be having a band.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's gone a complete sir. So in a very long-winded and roundabout way, that's how I actually became a comedian. Now I still sing. I still bang in a couple of songs, and I even put in funny songs that I write myself, or I'll take the piss out of a song we all know, and I'll change the lyrics. So
Mm.
the singing is still in the show, and yeah.
And your
So that's
audience,
how I became a comedian.
that's how you became a comedian.
If I am a comedian, you
That's
see,
how
I
you
don't know.
stayed
I
one. Now
don't know
you're just
what
a
I
very,
am.
you're just I think
I
you
don't even know if I am a comedian, because you hear people saying, oh, comedians, they suffer terrible with depression.
do
I
you?
happen all the time. I'm never, ever. I'm a messer. I get
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get paid to
you're a
show off.
pure messer.
Even in bed, I'd be messing, I'd be down there going, hello. I'd become a ventriloquist down at the lecture center. What did he do? What like I'm always messing.
Yeah,
So I don't know whether I think really what I am is an entertainer, because I can be a magician, I can act. I remember playing Fagin in the musical Oliver in the Tivoli for 3 months, and I loved that. And people were flabbergasted. We're thinking he won't be able to, a
make that
play.
transition to something serious from
Well,
being.
it's so disciplined, because say you and I are in the play. I've got to say something, so you say your lines back. And if I go off, like when I'm on stage on my own, I talk for hours, and I go, as you can see, I go flying away. I'm a bit like Billy Connolly in that way. I'll go off topic, but I'll come back at some stage. But you
Yeah,
can't get pissed at my gigs, because
no.
they'd be there going, "What's he talking about now? Did he finish? He was an only child. Did he finish that bit?" No.
Did six
So
hours just pass, or did I blank
when people come to my show, they have to shave twice.
out?
They leave.
I don't
There's
think
only
they've ever
10 days left till Christmas. We went in January. Oh,
But
but
you've done TV work as well as being on stage doing serious
yeah.
um, serious parts.
Well, when I was working in It's Magic, I then got a gig every Sunday morning on RTE. Me and Ian Dempsey, I was the resident magician on a show called The Beatbox. You're probably too young to remember that, but it was a Sunday morning,
I do know who you're talking about, but yeah.
and me and Ian Dempsey be there, and every week I'd have to have I'd 3 little 5-minute spots where I would do magic, and there was a lot of pressure because I had to come up with new tricks
Everywhere.
You know, you couldn't do the tricks out of the boxes you buy on the shelf, you know, because everyone at home would be going, sure, I can do that. I have that. So you'd be trying to come up with so that was I did that for about a year. And it was a bit of crack, but it was going nowhere. You know, I was just the magician on the Sunday morning. Most people were asleep. The only one watching you were kids.
Yeah. But
And
was
then
that part of then TV or what now is known as RT Junior? I suppose that would have been was he
no, it wasn't. It
older?
wasn't. It was aimed at adults,
Oh, was
actually.
it?
Yeah, the beatbox was. It would be say the same as say Dustin. You
Okay.
know, Dustin the Turkey or Zig and
Oh,
Zag.
yeah,
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 but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be like there'd be cheeky stuff coming from me that would fly over the kids' heads. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so it wasn't kind of
It wasn't
kid
PC.
friendly. I was PC, but it was kid friendly, but cheeky. I've always been cheeky. I'll say things like,
Let's
"You all
watch
right up
the Shrek movie. I remember bringing my two nephews to see the Shrek movie, and I used them as
right."
an excuse because I was a grown ass adult and they were kids, so I brought them. And like I'm there breaking my heart laughing with all the other adults about donkeys jokes and stuff like that. And the kids are sitting beside me going, what is wrong with you? Like, you know, and
Yeah,
one of them has kids of his own now. And he was like, Fiona, I've actually watched the
yeah,
Shrek movie, you know, since
yeah,
that, like
yeah,
recently with kids. And like, he's like, I now know what you were laughing at. I
yeah,
understand, you know. So
yeah.
it is, I mean, like it is, you know,
But
really, it's like
they
watching Toy
make them
Story.
nowadays with humor there for the mammies and daddies,
Yeah,
which is
especially
great.
that program Bluey. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. I love that one.
I know Bluey, but I don't listen. I love The Simpsons. And my 6-year-old loves The Simpsons. She's probably shouldn't be watching it, but she loves it. So I love that she loves it.
yeah,
And Family Guy.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I don't let her watch Family Guy, but I
Of
like Family.
course.
No, no.
She's getting to
Um,
the age where she can start understanding stuff. But so you did a bit of work there on the Sunday morning, but you've also warmed up for Friday night hosts.
oh no, I was the warm-up guy on RT for the Late Late Show when it was Pat Kenny, the Miriam Show with Miriam, what was the other one? Oh, the Saturday Night Show with Brendan O'Connor. So I did that for about 8 years in RTE.
You brought them all up, lovely, happy, and then the presenters come on, and it's like, okay, you've
Yeah.
lost me humor now.
And the one that really like Pat Kenny, you see, believe people don't know this, but Pat Kenny comes across, they used to call him the plank. Pat Kenny comes across as very serious and very intense.
Mm,
Pat Kenny in real life is gas and
right.
great crack. But
Yeah.
something happens when you put a camera on him. He becomes very matter of fact and very
Okay.
serious. So I would go on for 20 minutes before the show would go live and have everyone laughing and all up and energy up and all great fun. And then during the breaks, I would come on. Now that was hard because you 3 minutes. So you have
Yeah.
a floor manager going, go, and I come back. Well, I'm back again. So wait till I tell you about this thing. And I could be halfway through a joke, and he'd say, wrap it up, get off.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the ads, it's a live show. And
It's like,
the ads,
yeah. Yeah.
but the good thing about doing the RTE stuff was it taught me how to be clean because in RTE, honestly, you see, it would depend on what was on the show that night. So on the Late Late Show, there could be a debate about rape, abortion, Muslims, religious. There could be something about Down syndrome, sick people, Lourdes. Could be about anything.
Mhm.
So I couldn't. I would have to every week I'd go in there and say, what are the topics tonight? Because I couldn't even tell a funny joke about anything religious if the topic was religious.
Yeah.
Because the audience would be thinking, now I'd never tell jokes about rape anyway. I
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
stuff very distasteful. But I would need to know what are the subjects so that I could make sure because honestly, they get letters for everything. Even like, I'm sure they're getting letters about Patrick Kilty. Why didn't he wear a shirt and tie? You know, he had a t-shirt on under the suit. Honestly, people complain about everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it emails and letters and things like that. But what that 8 years in RTE, what it showed me was how to be funny, whether you've got 90-year-olds in the audience or you've 9-year-olds to
Mhm.
be able to do it, still be cheeky, still, you know, dance along that line. Like that's why I do a lot of weddings now. And
Mhm.
I love doing weddings. I do an hour, say, between the meal and the band, because that's the part at all weddings where the audience just go missing on you.
Yeah.
They go back to the rooms to put more vodka in the handbags. I did do a wedding in Limerick. They were trying to get the telly into the handbags. You're only supposed to take the soap. Uh, and they're sitting there and they're stuffed and they're watching a band setting up. So I come on and it's brilliant because they're all roaring and laughing. No one wants to dance after a meal anyway,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're laughing like that. But that audience, there could be nieces and nephews, there could be kids running around, there could be the priest. People
Mhm.
clam up when there's a priest in the room because they're saying, "Oh, here's a comedian." They're like, "Oh, what's Father Seamus saying?" Or and the first thing I do is get the priest laughing, because once you get him laughing, they all loosen up.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say things like, "Well, Father, midnight mass at 10:30. What's that?" What's that about? And I tell him, like, I'm the one going to hell, you're only watching. And once they get laughing and think, but that's what RT doing the warm-ups, it was great for that. So now I can do a gig. It doesn't, so if it's a college gig, it'll be kind of, there'll be a little bit of language in there, and I'll be able to talk about, you know, naughty
Different
stuff,
topics.
we'll
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
right? If it's a wedding, it's crystal clean but cheeky. If
Mhm.
it's a normal Dave Young show where they've paid in to see you, say my Christmas shows or whatever, I can kind of nearly say anything. See,
Yeah.
when people
Because that's
buy a
your
ticket
show.
to see
You don't
you,
have a client to.
yeah, it's like you have a license to. They want you to be you,
Yeah.
So what they get at a wedding is an edited version. You kind of if you can imagine, instead of a spotlight is on me at a Dave Young show, at a wedding there's a guy with a rifle, so I have to
An
kind of what
RT,
will
it's
I
a hook.
say? Yeah, on a big yeah. But I've now mastered, and I couldn't have done a wedding in my 20s because I wouldn't have had the discipline, and I wouldn't know why it wasn't okay to talk about willies and stuff like that at a wedding,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
now I can go to, I get booked for corporate gigs, so they could be all, nerdy types. I did one a few weeks ago, and half the audience were Norwegian and couldn't speak English.
Yeah. It was
So
actually.
that's half the room like this, right? And the rest were kind of Irish, English, Asian, Indian. Oh, it was, and I thought, oh my God, I think, but because I'm kind of physical, and because of the facial expressions or wherever it is, you don't really need to know exactly what I'm saying. They kind of pick up on it, on
Yeah.
the kind of energy or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But no, that was the good thing about RT. When all that scandal broke about RT and all that stuff, I was kind of glad I wasn't still in there and part of because I was on staff. I was down as staff,
Okay.
so I would have been mixed in with all the. Not that they'd be paying me the kind of money Tuberty was getting, and that I'd have to worry about that, but I wouldn't want to be in that atmosphere of a place. And to be honest with you,
Yeah.
it was never a kind of a cool place to work. Everybody in there was always like on eggshells.
Yeah.
Every week you'd go in and they'd be all tense, and they'd always be. It wasn't like a fun place. The only fun I ever had is when I was out the front making everybody laugh. But
Mhm.
before I went on, and what goes on behind the camera is very serious stuff.
Very
You
serious.
know,
Yeah.
very, very serious. So I remember the reason I first started doing the warm-ups was because I thought I'd get my own show. And I
Mhm.
remember someone saying to me, aren't you blessed you didn't get your own show? And
Yeah.
I said, "Wait, what do you mean?" He said, RT would have taken you, they would have molded you into what they want you to
Yeah.
be. They'd have killed you, and you'd have got a show, but probably wouldn't have got past one or two series, and then you're branded, you're boxed. Where I